Okay, so building off the last video of these eroded surfaces, I've included a couple additional drainage lines to, again, kind of extend on this idea of these kind of surfaces slowly kind of getting eroded away. So I can see that there's, in this case, I'm using square tiles. Again, I'm just continuously kind of playing with all sorts of different tiling geometries to give you as many variations as possible. But we're still sticking with this idea of a distance, and coming out of that is our remap component. So I'm going to go ahead and hide our surface here. And again, I'm going to play with this notion that the closer these are, the more these starts to kind of crumble away or erode away based off of their distance or proximity. So again, I'm going to use these to scale, except in this case, I'm going to be very subtle with these examples. I'm going to use, again, my favorite graph mapper here. Use the Bezier. So again, if it's close, it's going to have a different scale factor. So somewhere, it's probably not going to be nearly as obvious as some of the previous examples, but getting to the end point, you'll start to see it a little bit better. So again, I don't want them to seem too much, because it's really going to be kind of this outcome. So I want them to be very subtle. And again, you'll see how this works later on. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn this off so we can see it a little bit better. So there's not a lot of scaling going on. And then areas that are pretty far away almost have no effect. If I want, I know that, I mean, this is kind of between the 0.8 or 0.7. If I want to kind of adjust that scale, I can play with this one being at around 0.5. Hit OK. And that'll give me a little more kind of control over this. Because again, I want to have as little effect as possible on the things that are pretty distant. So it's almost only the immediate curves. And if I want to adjust even more, I can even increase my top value, because again, I don't want them to actually overlap, but yeah, let's actually just keep it to 1. That way there's no kind of guessing on this. All right, so again, I want to show that these areas begin to kind of sync as well. So I'm actually going to just go ahead and move them in the Z direction, but in the negative Z direction. And again, it's going to be very similar to this, except I'm going to add a multiplier. Oops, and I do want them to go in the negative, so let's do, we have to change this a little bit. So let's do something like negative 0.5 and 0. Hit OK. So there we go. And again, I want to get some of these as close as possible that aren't really near it. I think that should be okay for now. And again, I've got these areas where it's just kind of does it slightly different. Let's even add a couple more points. Okay. So again, this one's going to be a very kind of subtle example, but you'll see that the end results will be kind of interesting. So I've got these ones that I've manipulated, and again, I want to create a surface from these new tiled surfaces. So I'm going to take these and project them down to my C-plane. So these are all pretty much, actually I want to, let's do show, and I'm going to just lift everything a little bit higher than that original C-plane. Yep, that should work. So this one's going to give us a lot more kind of volume for this. But again, I'm going to go to surface and create a ruled surface between these. I'm going to turn this off, and I will create a fragmented surface once again from these. And let's see what happens once I bake this. Oh, I forgot. In order to get this, actually, I need to undo that. So the ones that I actually want to project aren't the ones, are going to be the original ones, not the scaled ones. So let's use this one instead. That way they almost kind of read like more like a trapezoid going up. So now let's turn this off, and now let's try baking it. I might want to just kind of exaggerate it a little bit more. So again, it's not quite getting the results I want. So let's just adjust that scale factor a little bit more. Okay. There we go. You can start to see what's cool is even these areas where things are kind of converging together, create an interesting outcome. So again, let's just go ahead and bake this. Now again, we kind of see this kind of interesting fragmenting of our surface, going in different heights. It almost looks even better on top than actually on the edges. So yep, so here's another way to kind of get more of a sense of volume with these eroded patterns.